Hey guys, it's Sluggy, and I'm doing the part 2 of the tutorial that I posted. So this is pretty much where I'm going to be drawing something quite simple and painting it, and so that you can see how I apply all the things I talked in part 1, and as well as talking about some of the other tools I use. And yeah, so just an application. And again, I'm doing something super simple because I don't want this video to go on for too long since it's real time. But yeah, so let's get started. So I'm just gonna pick one of my favorite brushes to sketch with, and I'm changing the brush angle so that it's like this because I just like drawing that way. It feels more natural. And yeah, okay. So a reminder, on Mac, Alt space and then drag zooms in and out. Once again, I'll make sure to find out what it is on Windows and then I'll put that on. Okay, so I'm just gonna sketch whatever. Most probably it's gonna be a girl because that's my favorite thing to draw. I guess some thoughts on character design while I'm doing this is so although girls are one of my favorite things to draw, there's some things that I try and keep in mind while I'm drawing and creating a new character. Some of the things is that although yes, I do really like to draw a lot of girls, I try very hard to make sure that each girl looks different from the last one I created, or just she has definitely a different face and a different look altogether. So like she could have round eyes, or she could have very angular eyes, or she could have even like very slit eyes. You know, there's a lot of different kinds, and the same goes for lips and other parts of her body, and also the shape of the head. You know, like she could be really flat and long, or she could be like very circular, or she could be, I don't know, this shape. You know, there's all sorts of shapes. So just wanted to remind or just let people know that, like, it's just, I guess the reason why I worry about that, or like I care about that a lot, is because I just see all too often artwork where people draw pretty much the same face very often, and I don't want to say like that's bad or anything, but I guess yeah, that's kind of bad, because like it's already not so great that I have a favorite subject and all I do is draw girls, but like at least then I'm trying to change it up and make sure that there's a range. So I would encourage anyone who has a favorite subject to also do the same. It just makes it so that you're not like a one-trick pony, you know? So yeah, that's just kind of what I wanted to say about that. So whenever I do drawings and stuff, usually I do a lot of thumbnails and stuff, but like I said, I'm just going to do something simple, and this is something I've drawn in my sketchbook before. So I'm just, drawing her again. So this drawing is probably just going to be, you know, her torso for the most part, because I don't want to make it too complicated or anything. So before, you saw that I was drawing in shapes just to give me a guideline of where her head is and stuff, and I think that's a good way to go, because instead of trying to like, you know, start line by line like this until you get it perfect, it's just better to like, give yourself a circle or something to like give you an overall look, and then like giving you a guideline pretty much. I also just really like to simplify the ears. The ears are actually the ear is a very complicated part of anatomy in the human body. But for something this stylized, it's just better just to simplify it. I guess for just to talk about the kind of brush I'm using, everything for opacity and flow is up to 100. I don't like working in anything lower than that because I don't like it when I'm like pressing hard and it's not giving me the full spectrum, I guess, of the stroke. And another thing with character design is that since you're playing a lot with shapes, a lot of the times when I'm drawing, when I start off with something, I try and like stick to the same shape language. So for example, like she as a character overall is very rounded, except for her head where I've given her some angular shapes because I don't want it to be too boring, I guess. Like her eyes are very round. I gave her very round lips, and then she's got these, you know, round pigtails. And since I'm having this idea of kind of a ballerina, I'm giving her like a really poofy round dress, and it all speaks in the same kind of shape language. Yeah, okay, right now I'm just noodling. I don't need for my sketch to be perfect because I plan to paint over all of it. Okay, so I might enlarge this slightly. If you click Shift while you're using the Move tool or the Scale tool, it will do it uniformly. And then the shortcut for the Move tool is V. And then I'm just gonna, and then C is the shortcut for the crop tool. I'm gonna make it here. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I like to do when I feel like I'm happy with my drawing, I'm going to change the color of the sketch itself, because right now it's just a really dark, you know, it's black. So where was that? Command U or Control U is the shortcut for the hue saturation tool. And this is where you pretty much go if you want to change a bunch of your colors and stuff for any part of your painting. And then if you click colorize, then it allows you to change the color of the sketch. So I'm gonna change it to a kind of dark purple, I think, because that's kind of the idea where I want to go with some of the lighting. And I like to use purple because most of the time, a lot of the shadows that I use for my paintings, it turns out purple because I like that as a shadow color, and I keep my sketch because I want to color pick from it. Oh, and Alt on the keyboard is a shortcut to, it's like a toggle shortcut for the eyedropper tool. So I'm picking up white right now, and then now I'm picking up the dark purple and so forth. Okay. So next I make a new layer. So I'm going to name these. I don't usually name it because I forget to, but it's a good habit too. I'm going to name this line so that it's obvious. And then I'm going to name this local color for now. So a local color pretty much just means I'm going to just color this the colors that I want. But first, before that, actually, I should change the background color because that also defines a lot of things. Oh, and just so you know, I do have lighting reference on another monitor. I think that's just, I think it's really good for any artist to use reference I mean, you don't have to do it all the time, but it's just good habit to. I know that there's a lot of people who seem to take pride in the fact that they don't use reference, which, you know, it's their own thing, but there's definitely absolutely no shame in using reference for anything, whether it be design, anatomy, lighting, all sorts of stuff, because all that matters is the result and not not completely how the process is. I mean, the process is interesting, but all that matters is where it ends up. And if you use reference to get to that point, then good for you. So I'm just starting with this color because it's kind of close to the kind of color I want for her skin. But then I'm going to adjust it slightly because I want it to be just a tad more pink. Okay. And let's make it slightly darker. I'm painting underneath the lines right now, and then later I'm going to paint over it. And right now I'm just using the same brush that I sketched with because I don't really like switching brushes. I think it just gets me out of my zone. So yeah, I'm pretty much just filling in. I'm simply filling in sections of where her skin is and all that stuff. Okay. Don't really need it for it to be super clean because, again, I'm gonna paint over all of this later. Okay. So I'm looking at it now as a whole, and I realize that I don't think it's pink enough. I think it looks too yellow. So what I'm gonna do is Command U again to this layer with the skin. I'm gonna Command U, and then I'm going to adjust the slider slightly so that it's more pink. Yeah, that's more of what I want, and I think I want it to be slightly and with a little bit more saturation. So yeah, that's another great thing about Photoshop is nothing is permanent. Everything can be adjusted and changed and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm happy with the skin, and then now I'm gonna, I think I want her hair to be like a bright pink. Let's go with here, and then it's not so important in this image right now, but the most important thing I believe in an image, and something that I've been taught by quite a bit of professors, is that actually the most important thing in a painting is value, which means like the darkness and the lightness of what you're painting. It's not so critical in this image because it's really just a simple background, but you know, I'm trying to make sure that every color I'm picking, like this one, the balance is right there, and then for this one the balance is up here, and the background, the balance is down there. So meaning that everything that I've painted so far, like this whole layer, is brighter than this dark purple. It's way more critical when you have a way busier image, as well as having a busier background and stuff like that. Like if you have a full-on background, you know, it's going to be tougher, and you're going to have to be way more critical about how your values look. So let me just show you really quickly what I mean. I'm going to paint this, give that white, and then turn this to color. So this is just a quick way to show you that, like, in black and white, her hair and her is still the most, it's sticking out from the background, like she's not blending in. And I'm actually starting to think that maybe her hair needs to be slightly lighter because it's kind of getting close to the background. But so that's what I mean. And finally, I'm gonna pick a color for a dress. What do ballerinas wear? I think they use, I'm gonna go with blue. So the reason why I bring up value is because a lot of people, I feel, when they look at artwork, they're like, wow, the colors are so beautiful. which is true that colors can really enhance the story of a painting, of any image, but a lot of the times what's actually really nice about a painting, and that many people don't realize, it's because their values are so good. And then the color part, it's a lot of color things is mostly just personal preference. So here I like, there's no color theory behind what I'm picking right now. I'm just thinking like, oh, pink and blue might look really cute together with a purple background. So I would say don't worry so much about, I guess, like, like making sure you get the right colors and stuff. I would say worry more about making sure your values look good. Yeah, that's good enough. Maybe I should move the arms forward because now it looks like her arms just cut off. Or, okay. And then I'm just gonna erase this. But I think I'm gonna crop this further. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Just gonna really quickly double check my values. Okay, so first red flag, and the reason why I wanted to check my values really quickly is because her arms right here are disappearing into the dress. You can't tell at all that it's there. Sure, you can obviously distinct between them, but it's a subconscious thing a little bit where like you can tell there's something off, like it feels weird right here, at least to me. And then I double checked it with this, and it's clear that the arms are completely being lost into the dress. So I'm going to fix that with making sure that her skin is darker at the bottom, and then later I'll fix that there. So I guess it's just good to know right now, but I won't address it right now. Okay. Maybe I'll change really quickly just the color of her lips, which I want to make slightly red. And local color just pretty much means anything without lighting involved. So something else to keep in mind is places where I believe there should be more redness in her skin. So I'm gonna find a pinkish color, and ears tend to be very red or orange almost. And even if it's subtle in real life, it's better to exaggerate when you're actually painting something. It just has more appeal that way. And then her cheeks, like a little bit of a blush. And her nose slightly, wherever her nose is gonna be. And then her eyes, okay, so what I like to do with eyes is I start off with this green and I make it almost a white. And it's pretty much a white with a green tint. And I like to do that for the white of the eyeball because it's a nice contrast to your skin, because your skin is mostly red, or like, it has like a pinkish tone, and the opposite, or the contrasting color to pink is green. So it just makes her eyes pop out even more. And you might not notice it, but it's like a subtle thing to make her eyes just pop out much more. Okay, so after I figured out all these, what I like to do next is then make a new layer on top of everything and then paint over everything. So I'm just gonna write this as like my paint over layer. So it's pretty much where now I'm painting over both the lines and just the local colors, and this is where I like to start to figure out shadow and stuff. So let's start with the dress. And at the same time, I'm trying to clean up the lines, and I haven't used the eraser tool at all through this whole thing. Like for the background, I'm just grabbing the color of the background here and then just painting with it, because I don't like switching tools. It just, yeah. Oh, another place where there's a lot of like pinkish tones is the shoulders. Okay, so now I'm gonna start thinking about what her shadows colors are gonna look like. So I'm gonna move it over to the red. I've mentioned this in some previous videos, but again, it's really good if you don't use just black for shadows. And same thing when things get light, you don't just add white, because it just loses so much appeal and it just makes your painting look dull. So here I'm just giving shadow to the roof, I guess, of the eye. And then next I'll do her neck. And then the bottom of her chin. But something that I like to take into account for is bounce light. So that's pretty much, okay, so light, you can have a whole tutorial on lighting, but there's this thing called bounce light, which is pretty much light that bounces off the floor, I guess, or anywhere that's not direct light. And so for example, if this is the sun, this is the sun, and this is like a window or something that it goes through, and this is a room. Direct sunlight goes this way, and then more light like bounces off of it, and it goes all over the room, and that's why, the room can look very illuminated. And usually bounce light is the color of the floor, or the color pretty much opposite of the sun, or of the whatever the light color is. So usually I like to make the bounce light, point is, the bounce light looks a lot better when it's the opposite to the light color. So like, I'm most likely going to use some kind of yellowish color in this painting just because I feel like it. So I think I want the bounce light to be kind of blue. And I'm just going to grab the color off her dress, because then there's like this uniformity, I guess, to it. But yeah, so I'm just going to make the bottom of her chin slightly blue because I want her to have bounce light. But I think this needs to be slightly lighter. There. Okay. And this way now there's like pretty obvious contrast between this one and this one. But I might actually grab one of these dark ones and put it under there to make the contrast even more obvious. Okay. So this blue is already quite light, so I'm gonna instead go this way and maybe add like a thing like that, but yeah. I'm gonna change this to more horizontal because I'm gonna be painting up like this. Okay, so starting to try and give her more dimension. I think I want her sash to be a similar color to her hair. Okay. So another thing to think about is also material. So like, now that I've formed like the 3D-ish shape of her bust, I want to give it some highlights to this dress, and at the same time I want to define material. So like, I'm thinking of giving her dress a little bit of like a prom dress feel. So I mean, this part is, you know, again, it's good to get reference if you can, but I'm just gonna do my best right now without it. So I'm thinking it's like it's kind of shiny is what I'm thinking. Yeah, okay. I think I'll put that all around the neckline. I'm also just gonna grab a stark white and then really put a highlight like right there. Okay. And here I'm just gonna try and fix the anatomy because, you know, I don't want to spend too long on the sketch and making it perfect when I'm gonna paint over it. So like, I just have like a guideline for this in the sketch and then fix whatever I can when I actually paint. It's good to have a really clear sketch, but it doesn't have to be perfect, I guess. There's a difference between like just noodling around with it when you know you're gonna like paint over it and actually having a good, well thought out planned sketch. But that honestly just takes practice and, you know, like figuring out where it starts to work for you. I'm gonna put like as if there was a shadow here from her arms and yeah, from her body. Let's make it circular more so it like wraps around it better. Let's grab something over here to kind of darken this even more. trying to make sure that I have enough to talk about. If I don't talk, I apologize. I'm just working. And I just, I do a lot of color picking. Like grabbing from the painting itself. One, it's easier and it's just so much more convenient than like picking a color from scratch every time. But also it's that then your painting looks like it's uniform. You're not introducing way too many colors. Okay, let's... Oh, I guess another tip is when you're using the brush, try your darn hardest not to use the tiniest brush and then trying to fill up a huge space with like a teeny brush. Do your best to try and use the biggest brush that you can use for any occasion. Because one, it's a waste of time, and two, you get a lot more confident strokes that way, which just looks a lot better. You can tell when an artist is, I guess, not as confident in their strokes and their lines, and it loses a lot of the appeal. So, for example, you see a lot of beginners who, if they're trying to draw a rounded object, for example, instead of just going for it like that, it's a lot of this, and you get the result of like that scratchy, hairy line, which you should try to avoid if you can. Okay. Again, I want to grab the bounce light and apply it to the hair and other parts of her. Her eyebrow should be a dark pink. Let's make it an even darker pink. I noticed that eyebrows just tend to be darker than the normal hair, even in real life, so I don't know, that's why I do that. And also, it just makes... Eyebrows, are one of the most expressive parts of your face, so the more contrast you give it, the better. It's really clear then what kind of expression your character is doing. Just gonna cover that up. Oh, I guess another thing about character design and just character drawing in general is that another thing that I see quite often is the same expression and the same face, I guess, but particularly with the expression, there's a lot of that just look at the camera with maybe a lip slightly parted, but there's very little emotion. It's just, it's the typical pretty face. I mean, she's not, bursting at the seams here or whatever, but for example, her, even just the slight look to the side and stuff just gives so much more personality and so much more interest than just a simple looking at the camera and sitting there looking pretty. And if you've noticed so far, I haven't zoomed in at all. I don't think I have, at least. I guess we'll check later. But there's really no point in working at this size. You can see perfectly fine here. And that way you also don't over detail. Again, sorry if I'm not talking I'm just, you know, focused and trying to finish it, I guess. And you know, what I'm trying to show you now is just, it's something that can be applied to any style of painting, or any painting in general. I don't definitely don't expect anyone to draw the way I do if they don't want to. You know, I'm just trying to show something, a way that you could apply it to your own drawing, or, you know, just to anything that you yourself is doing. Like, don't think that the advice that I'm giving you only applies to the way I'm doing things, because like most things in art, it's the principles that matter, and it applies to any medium. Although, of course, you know, like, if I tried to do watercolors right now, like, I would fail that miserably because I haven't practiced with the medium. But what I'm saying is, like, things like value, things like color choices, and things about, I think similarly with, like, zooming in, you know, try and step back from your painting once in a while. It's all, what do you call it, like, valid across all mediums and all forms of art. Okay, I'm gonna do something that is something, it's more of a personal taste and a personal preference, but I think it adds a lot of appeal, is, so whenever there's a transition from something that's dark and light, something that looks really good, I think, and something that a lot of artists do, is they add a very, very saturated in-between color. I think that's too orange, but actually that looks kind of good though. Okay, maybe still too little orange. I'm gonna move it slightly. But yeah, this, I think, just looks really, really nice, and it just adds, you know, a dynamic touch to your image. I think it is. It's mostly, this is supposed to be like simulating subsurface scattering. I would suggest looking that up if you're curious, and usually that's more of a pink, so maybe this is way too. Okay, that's a bit better. It's supposed to be lighter though. Okay. Okay. Let's make this slightly darker still. One of the first tutorials that I've ever seen somebody drawing or telling people how to draw was to use the blur tool a lot, as well as like the what do you call that thing? The soft round brush, which I'm sure there are ways to get that to look really good, but just so you know, like, that's definitely not the only way. That's how I thought you were supposed to do it in the beginning, and it actually made me like not want to digital paint for a while, until I figured out that there are other ways to do things. Okay, and now I'm gonna light her face a bit, or let's work on the lips a bit. Another habit that I try to form, which might be helpful for some people, is that I try really hard not to stay in one area for a long time. So like, I'm going from the hair and working here, and then I go over here and I fix the ear, and then I go to the top part of the hair and stuff like that. And I think that's a valid and good habit to pick up, because that means you're not focused on any one area for a long time. Something that tends to happen when you do that is if you, let's say, focus on this eye for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or even longer, then you make this eye ultra detailed and ultra, I don't know, just super, polished and stuff, and then it looks weird because the rest of the painting doesn't look anything like that. And it looks weird because it's like, it feels like two different artists painted it or something like that. So what's best is if you build up the whole painting at the same time, and then that way it becomes polished at the same time and not off like that. I'm realizing I'm realizing that there's just so many things to talk about when it comes to lighting. So the reason why I'm trying to like really darken this area is for ambient occlusion, which is a thing where like when something is just so close to something else, it's dark no matter what. So like I think the good example is if you put your fingers together, if you put like your index and your thumb, you'll see like a black line between them. And no matter what lighting you're in, it's always going to be a dark line. And that's pretty much ambient occlusion. Okay. I'm going to just give this a quick sheen. Okay, now I'm gonna give her like lighting, like a lighter light on her face. So I'm thinking, since it's a yellowish light, I'm gonna move this closer to the orange spectrum and then slightly higher, and I'm gonna make it, actually, rather than desaturate it and closer to white, I'm making it closer to its most saturated state. Gonna give it some white because just to lighten it up more. I guess when you're trying to paint the face, just because I'm doing something stylized doesn't mean that I shouldn't have like learned how to do, or I shouldn't have learned face anatomy of like real life people, because it's still helpful to know the planes of the face. I mean, I would say the kind of things to learn about it is really just drawing a lot of real life faces and understanding, yeah, like where cheeks turn and where things mostly catch light. Because there's like a bridge here on the forehead that doesn't get as much light as the cheeks, for example. And then I want her lips to have quite a pink sheen. So okay. Let's make the bottom of her nose way darker. Wait, no. Actually, let's give it a bit of a bounce light. Okay, this video is starting to get a little bit long, so I might either cut it in half or I'm just not gonna completely finish what I'm drawing, because I think, you get the gist, I think, from here. Like, I just keep cleaning up certain areas and adding more and more detail. Let's make this one. Okay, I mean, I can definitely clean this up a lot a lot more, but I'm just gonna do the eyes, and then I think I should call it done for this video because it's getting quite long. So this is when I'm actually gonna zoom in because I want to, you know, her eyes are the most important part because that's where everyone looks first. It's both a human, just a human characteristic that we all do, that the first thing we want to look at is people's eyes. So when we see a painting, the first thing we look at usually is the eyes. And at the same time, it's because it's where the highest contrast is. You know, there's this super, super dark eyelash with this super, super bright white of the eyeball. So it's double where people look. There's a few tools that I usually use that I haven't talked about in this video, but I feel like this is a lot already. What I'm thinking of doing is maybe either just doing this again and then see if I happen to use it in another real-time video, or I'll just continue to make tutorials maybe on anything else that people have questions about. But yeah, let me know if you want to see more real-time drawing. Again, it'll probably have to be quite simple things because it's going to be a really long video if I do try to do something kind of complicated. Yeah, just any kind of feedback would be great because I'd like to know if I don't know if this is boring, if this is not helpful, anything like that would be awesome to know about. But yeah, see, like how you can see all my strokes still. Usually I would go in and like really like clean that up later, but I do it all, like I said, I bring it all up at that level at the same time. But I could, you know, I could do that for hours, and I think that's going to be boring for you guys. I'll just be doing the stuff that's really important, I think. I don't know, and sometimes I actually really like this messy, strokey look, because I don't know, it's a cool look. It looks kind of cool. Okay, so let's give this thing some dimension. So I guess just a rule of thumb for me is whenever I'm picking out colors for, you know, like a shadow or another light color, I always try and adjust something that's not just the light, that's not just the B on this slider. Like it's not, I don't want to just make it darker. I usually either add or take away saturation, and I also try to change the hue if I can. It just looks way better that way, I think. Okay. Now let's see, what color eyes do I want her to have? I think I'll make it a kind of like dark pinkish brown maybe. So we can maybe give her eyes just some highlight so it's not completely dark like that. Nah, I like it dark, I think. And then just giving her a gleam in her eye, because usually eyes look weird if you don't give a gleam like that, because it makes it look like it's dry, which is weird because eyes are wet. I think something that I want to do is really quickly make her eyelashes way darker. Okay, I should not keep working on this because this video is really long. Okay, well, I mean, I think you get the gist of kind of what I do. You know, I can keep working on this and really cleaning it up and stuff, but I'm pretty happy with how it's looking in terms of, I guess, yeah, of it's the rendering and all that stuff. But something that is kind of that's really, really important to me is the fact that this character has appeal and that it doesn't look like the other characters I've created before, because I always want to try something new. Okay, I really better end this video, but just one more brush stroke. Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm gonna end for now, because yeah, it's a long video and I have a lot of cleanup to do, but I think you get it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please let me know if you have any other questions, or if there's something in this video that was really confusing, or if I didn't explain something well enough. Yeah, please let me know too if you want to see more real-time drawings, or if this is just super boring and you'd rather see it speed up and I just do a voiceover. Yeah, I think that's it. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye!